everyone, so today I'm finally going to be doing my year-long update of the one palette monthly makeup challenge that I have been doing for the entire year. Now, to be completely honest, I did not think I was going to be able to stick with it as well as I have, and if you are not familiar with what my makeup palette challenge was, I basically challenged myself to just use one single eyeshadow palette for an entire month, and so each month would be a different palette. So there's been about 12 different palettes that I have been strictly using this year. Now, I did go off just a little bit here or there whenever I was testing some other products throughout the month, but for the most part, all of my everyday makeup was supposed to come from that particular palette for the month. And then at the end of the month, I would decide whether I wanted to keep the palette or declutter it, because I have such a huge makeup collection and it's just all my own doing, and there's so many things that I have where it really kind of gets suffocating, honestly, because I have so much stuff and I'm just kind of drowning in it. And my reason for wanting to use it for a whole month before getting rid of it was because I really wanted to give these palettes a super thorough try. Although I really love decluttering videos, there's something that just kind of hurts my soul when I think about just getting rid of stuff. Even if it's something I don't like, I'm like, oh, but maybe I can make myself like it, or maybe I can find another way to use it. And I've just got so much stuff at this point where it makes a lot more sense if I either give these a really good try, see if I like it or not, and if I don't like it, I can pass it along to one of my friends or family who could use it, and otherwise just, you know, give it a new home, because it really doesn't do any good just sitting here wasting away in my makeup collection. So yeah, I will go through, I'm gonna do a recap of all of the palettes that I had for each month and let you guys know if I'm keeping it or not. So starting off with the palette from January was, of course, my Urban Decay Naked Original palette. This is one of those eyeshadow palettes that I feel like even if I absolutely hated, I would never be able to get rid of it, because it was one of my, it wasn't like my first makeup palette, but it was definitely one of those iconic eyeshadow palettes that I got very early on in my makeup days and stuff. And so this one was the one I used for the month of January, and even though it doesn't have nearly as many mattes as I would like, I think there's actually only 2 mattes in this entire palette, but I love this eyeshadow palette so much, and especially since they discontinued this one, I feel like I could never get rid of it. So this is of course going to be an eyeshadow palette that I am going to be keeping. So the next palette I have was for the month of February. This was the Coastal Scents Revealed 2 palette. So I really liked these because you did get so many different colors in here. They're kind of fashioned after the Naked palettes and stuff. And I remember these being super inexpensive. I feel like it was probably 20 bucks or so for this entire palette. And to be honest, they're not the most amazing shadows ever. I think they're still really decent, especially for the price. And I really kind of went back and forth on whether I wanted to keep this palette or not. I definitely really did like a lot of the colors in here, but overall I'm just to the point where I feel like I really want to keep the things that I really like and not keep around so many they're okay type of products. So I still really like this palette, but I just feel like I'm not gonna be, using this one a whole lot, and I'd just rather pass this along. Next was for the month of March. Now this one, I remember I got this one about this time last year, and I really love this palette. I still love it. The color of it is so beautiful, and this is of course the Emerald palette from Cargo. I remember I got this from TJ Maxx for I think maybe 20 bucks, and I just can't get over how pretty these colors are. It's kind of hard to see because of the gold foil, but it's just such pretty colors. They're nothing that out of the ordinary, especially if I cover up the greens, that could be any eyeshadow palette ever, but those green shadows are so beautiful, and I just love green eyeshadows so much. And I feel like Cargo is just one of those brands that used to be one of those really popular brands, but no one talks about anymore just because they're, I don't know, to be honest, a little bit on the boring side. But I love this palette. I'm definitely keeping it. I can't wait to use this one again because this colors are so beautiful. Next was the month of April. Now this palette, I'm not a huge fan of this person anymore. We all know, Kat Von D. But as far as the actual eyeshadows go, I love this palette. I think the shadows are beautiful. The color story is very pretty as well. You get a lot of warm colors, but a lot of neutrally kind of things to make this work as an everyday palette. So although I'm not really a fan of her anymore, I will be keeping this palette because it's such a nice eyeshadow palette. I spent money on it. I'm not just throwing it away. This next one is for the month of May. Now this was a palette that I was really on the fence of whether I wanted to keep or whether I wanted to get rid of it. I believe at the end of my video for May, I was leaning towards decluttering it, but I kind of wanted to save it till the very end just to make sure and kind of see, what am I getting rid of and what am I keeping, and then kind of evaluate. I was kind of thinking if I'm getting rid of a lot of palettes, then maybe I'll end up keeping this one. So this was of course the Dose of Colors Eyescream palette, and this is what it looks like. First of all, I love the theme of it and I love the colors of it, but I just found that, I don't know, I wasn't a huge fan of this whenever I was using it. I really loved this like color itself, but it's just such a weak color on its own. I felt like I really needed to use like a colored base to make this color show up as well. And now I'm like to the point where I'm like, am I gonna keep this or am I gonna get rid of it? And although it's kind of going against my better judgment, I think I'm gonna keep it. So that one for now is gonna go in my keep pile. So far we are 4 keeps and 1 declutter. So let's move on to the next one. So next is for the month of June. This is from BH Cosmetics and this is called their Bronze Paradise palette. It's like super fingerprinty. This one I remember was a very inexpensive palette. I feel like I definitely got it for maybe under $20 or something whenever I bought it. One thing I really love is that the mirror in here is absolutely huge. Like this is the perfect type of mirror because you can see your entire face when you're doing your makeup and it's so nice. And as far as the shadows go, I actually really do like the colors. They're really pretty, they're warm colors, and then there's that really fun pop of like a turquoisey blue, and then you also get 2 face products in here. And definitely for the price, I think this was such a good value, and I do like the shadows, but overall I just don't feel like I need this palette in my life. It was definitely a really good one and I would recommend if you can still get this. But for me, I just feel like I don't need it. I just feel like I don't need this in my life. So even though I really actually did kind of like this palette, I feel like I'm just going to put this one in my declutter pile. Next was for the month of July. This is a palette I have had for so long. I remember I got this at TJ Maxx like absolute years ago on sale. And this is from the Balm. It's called the Balm in the Beautiful. They actually came out with another palette, I feel like not too long after this one, and it was the exact same palette. It was the Muppets palette. So if you have that one, it is the exact same colors as the Balm in the Beautiful one. Just a little side note. And this one has eyeshadows and it has cream products in here. So these are the eyeshadows and then there is a little flap here that covers the cream products. I like that they, you know, packaging wise did that because I hate when shadows fall out into cream products. And then of course there is a little tiny makeup mirror here, but you know, not a huge deal. And overall what I thought about this palette, I feel like I liked that there was a lot of colors in here, but the one thing I just don't like is that there's absolutely no mattes in here. There's all shimmer, and I would consider most of these more of like a satiny kind of shimmers. They're not even like a super intense kind of shimmer. So I just feel like even though I could get a lot of use out of this if I just used another, you know, little mini palette of mattes to go with it, overall I just feel like I don't need this, and I'm gonna go ahead and put this one in my declutter pile. And I swear it kills me every time I say I'm gonna declutter something because I'm just so not a declutter type of person. Like next is for the month of August. This was an e.l.f. eyeshadow palette and I can't find the name of this one. It's just some random eyeshadow palette that they sold before and it looks like this. Overall pretty much neutrals with a couple little pops of color. I really like the green color, it's really pretty. But overall I'm just not a huge fan of this one, and to be honest I have a lot of little e.l.f. palettes. Although the quality is definitely not the best at all, I feel like it's definitely doable, but at this point I don't really want to keep any, you know, just okay stuff, so this one is going in my declutter pile. Next for the month of September, this again is another Coastal Scents palette, and this one is the original Revealed. So this one is fashioned after like the Urban Decay Naked 1 and 2 kind of. It's kind of like a hybrid of those two. Again, I really like the colors in here. In this one there's definitely a lot more mattes, and I definitely think it's like pretty decent eyeshadows. But since I am keeping the original Naked, I feel like I just don't really need another palette like that, even though these are like exactly the types of colors I would use every day. I'd much rather let this one go than let my Urban Decay one go, so this one is going to be a declutter. Next was the month of October. This is a palette that I actually got for Christmas a couple years ago from like a family member. And this is a Sephora palette. It's called the More Than Meets the Eye, and it was just one of their random holiday palettes. And again, I'm not interested in this. I mean, there's tons of colors in here. There's a lot of mattes and stuff, but overall I feel like, I don't know, I could let like one of my little cousins have this and I feel like they would love it. So that one is going to go in my declutter pile. Next was one that I feel like I definitely didn't get to use as much as I would have liked, and this one was for the month of November. This is the Morphe Dark and Smoky palette. And this one is a really pretty palette. Again, there are a lot of shimmers in it and not as many mattes. So this is definitely a palette I feel like I would have to like use another palette with. But I love those greens and those blues. And to be honest, I just really didn't get get to give this as much of a chance as I would have liked because I had like some, you know, health issues and stuff going on in November and I just didn't wear makeup that often. So I'm gonna actually keep this palette because I really like how affordable it is. I don't know if you can still get this one or not, but I am gonna be keeping this one. And finally, we are on to the last month of my makeup challenge. Like I said, I did not think I was gonna be able to make it this long, but somehow I was able to. And so for the final month, this one is for December, and this is the Too Faced Christmas in New York, the Chocolate Shop palette. Now this is the palette I've been using for this month, and I do have to say, I'm not a huge fan of this palette. Yeah, and it kind of hurts me to say that. One thing I noticed right away is that this palette used to be scented like chocolate and stuff, and that scent has almost completely gone away. Like if I really smell, I can still smell a little bit of it, but overall most of the scent is gone. And another thing that really struck me is that I felt like I had to scrub my brushes so hard into these like matte shades, like here and those, like these kinds of colors that I would use all the time. I felt like I had to scrub my brush into that to make it work, and it was just such a hassle, and I felt like I remembered it being like at least a little bit better in the past. Now this is a bit of an older palette, it's about 2 years old I would say, but this was a palette, another one I really kind of struggled with. Do I want to declutter? Because on the one hand, quality wise, I don't really like this palette at all. I mean, the colors were pretty, but yeah, like I felt like I really had to struggle with these colors to make them look nice. But the reason why I didn't want to declutter it was because I also have all of the other ones from this holiday collection, and it just felt weird to like get rid of one but not the other. I kind of have this weird thing where like if products come like in a set or they're all part of the same line or something, I either want to keep them all or get rid of them all, and I know I don't want to get rid of all of the other eyeshadows from this holiday collection, but I know I don't like this one. So I really kind of struggled with this one, whether I was gonna keep it or declutter it. And then I remembered that from one of my Shop Hush hauls, I actually bought this palette, which is actually like a knockoff of this one. I did a whole video reviewing both of these, and I did like one look with this one and one look with this one. And I actually broke this one out today and I was using it. And I have to say, it's actually like so much better. The cheaper one was a lot better than the Too Faced one. So I was thinking, you know, maybe just get rid of the Too Faced one and keep the cheaper one, because this one worked so much better. I used it today for my eyes. I felt like the colors blended so much better. I did not have to scrub my brush into the matte colors, and honestly, it was just better. So I think I'm gonna end up decluttering this one, even though it really hurts me. I'm gonna declutter that one and I'm gonna keep this one. So for a quick recap, what am I decluttering? These are all the palettes I'm decluttering. This is 1, this one is 2, this one is 3, this one is 4, this one is 5, this one is 6, and this one is 7. So wow, I did not think I was going to be decluttering 7 palettes whenever I was going through and like picking, you know, what palettes I was going to choose for the year, because I picked all of the palettes back in December and I made a list and I'm like, okay, I'm sticking to this list and these are the ones I'm going to use. And I did not think I was going to get rid of this many palettes. I thought maybe I was going to get rid of 2 or 3. So as far as the ones I'm keeping, this is 1, this one is 2, this one is 3, 4, and 5. I'm keeping 5 palettes and I'm getting rid of 7. So those are all of the palettes from my monthly challenge I'm going to be decluttering. But as I was cleaning up my makeup collection the other day, I recently posted my makeup setup and organization and ultimate collection video. So if you want to see like my entire collection, definitely check out that video. But I was going through some more and I found a couple more palettes that I'm like, you know, I just think I can get rid of these 2. So I'm actually going to be getting rid of a couple more palettes. So the first one, this is just another one of those like e.l.f. palettes. This is called Bright. That's all the little sticker says. It's got some numbers and it says Bright, and it looks like this. e.l.f. has sold a lot of like just random little eyeshadow palettes, and I have not used this one like very much at all. There's definitely just a couple shadows in here that have been used, so I'm gonna pass that one along. Another one I have, it's that same kind of setup. This one is just called Classic. This one's a lot more closer to like the, you know, the Naked palette kind of look, and again, this one's just very lightly used, so that one I'm gonna get rid of. Another palette, this is one, I don't know why I got this. I remember I think I got it from Target on sale and I was like, oh look, it reminds me of those like Coastal Scents 88 palettes. And this one's again from e.l.f. It's just this giant palette of rainbow eyeshadows. I don't need this. The next palette I'm getting rid of, this one is from W7. It's called In the Buff. This was another one of those like, you know, naked palette dupes. And for a while I was really into like trying all these kind of like, you know, naked dupe palettes and like, you know, swatching them and showing you like how close they are. This is one I feel like I've probably used maybe twice in my entire life, so I'm definitely going to be passing this one along because it is so lightly used. And then the final one I'm getting rid of, this is the Urban Decay Naked 3. Now, to be completely honest, I think this is actually one of those knockoff palettes. Like, I bought a few knockoff palettes in the past that I knew were 100% knockoff palettes, and I wanted to like see, you know, are they good or are they the same? But you know, I just don't feel very comfortable using these types of knockoff palettes anymore. You know, you don't really know what's in them. It is of course one of those really cheap Chinese palettes, and I just don't want that in my collection, and I'm not going to be passing that along to anyone, so I think I'm just going to, you know, straight up get rid of that palette. So that brings my total to all of the palettes that I'm going to be decluttering to a grand total of 12 palettes. And part of me is like really sad to get rid of stuff because I know I've spent, you know, a lot of money on all this stuff. Like, none of this is sent to me. I buy all of my own stuff, and it always like feels bad when you're like, oh, I feel like I just wasted a lot of money. But overall, I'm tired of having like a lot of crap in my collection, and I'd much rather just whittle it down to things that I actually really like. That way I can actually see what I own and use it and not feel as guilty. So that's pretty much all for my 1 year of makeup palettes. And I actually thought about doing another year of this same type of thing, but I wanted to do a little bit of a twist on it. So before, like, I had just picked one palette per month, I was thinking more of doing either like a theme or like a category or something to stick to like that. So I still have to figure out all the details, but I was thinking about doing like for January, it's gonna be a different palette every day. So I'm gonna use a palette and then move on to the next one, so I can kind of get back to using a lot of different palettes, because since I was stuck to using one palette an entire month, I really had to get creative with the looks I created, or otherwise they were just gonna all look the same, which is fine. But I really like a lot of diverse kind of makeup looks, so I felt a little bit I guess like boxed in from that constraint. So I was thinking about doing a different palette every day for January, and then for doing like February, it's all single shadows. And then maybe for March, it would be all loose pigments, because I was talking about in one of my past videos how I never use loose pigments, and I thought it would be a really fun kind of challenge to only use loose pigments for an entire month. Then, you know, maybe the next month would be only cream eyeshadows and things like that, or like the next month would be only small palettes. So I've kind of been playing around with doing another type of year-long makeup challenge for me, just so I'm able to use a lot of things that I haven't been using in quite a while. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about that idea. To be honest, I had the intention of doing a lot more with my, you know, one makeup challenge or one makeup palette, you know, monthly challenge. What I really wanted to do was to do more like makeup tutorials with a specific palette, but it honestly, to be completely honest, tutorials are not my favorite thing. I'm not the best at actually applying makeup and like coming out with these really beautiful eye looks. I feel like I get very stuck in ruts when it comes to things like that, and I just place the same type of shadow in the same spot, but then I just switch up the lid color and it's like the same thing every time. So I'm not that creative or unique when it comes to actual eyeshadow looks, so I felt like I really would have liked to have done more tutorials and stuff like that, more look-based things, but it ended up not turning out the way I wanted it to. So I apologize for that. I really meant to do like a lot more like makeup looks and tutorials, but those honestly just take me a lot longer to film, and I feel like I'm just not good at that, so I should just leave that to people who are really good at makeup. And I don't know what I'm good at. I like doing reviews, I like doing hauls and things, and yeah, I don't know. So maybe I'll just try to like stick a little bit more towards that, and then sprinkle in a makeup tutorial every once in a while. Yeah, so that is it for this very long video. Definitely thumbs up the video if you've watched this far. It would mean a lot to me. And if you have any ideas of how I should test myself each month for the next year, like eyeshadow wise, I would definitely really love your suggestions. So yeah, that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please like and subscribe. You can follow me on Instagram, link is below. And until my next video, I will talk to you guys later.